How's it going, everybody? This is Brian Funk, aka AfroDJMac, and today I'm very excited to show you late 80s digital. This is a new collection of 50 instruments for Ableton Live and Logic Pro X. And these instruments are made from samples of the Roland D05, which is an exact replica of the 1987 digital synth, the Roland D50. It's got lots of classic 1980s sounds. When we had this certain idea of what the future would be like, by now we were supposed to be in flying cars and teleport machines. But instead, we've got these really cool, old-style, futuristic sounds. And I'm going to take you through some of the different presets that we have here. And you'll notice there's a lot of depth to these sounds, lots of movement and character, and sometimes more than one layer. So we hear some chimes in the aqua bells, but we also hear some water. Really interesting sound with lots of texture. Atmos strings, really warm, lush, kind of atmospheric string sounds. And you can just about imagine the soundtrack to some 1980s movie. Now this is called Ball Game Organ. Sounds a lot like a baseball organ. And this is incredibly 80s sounding, called Bass in Strat. And it's a good example of some of the velocity sensitivity. So we can play these notes nice and quiet, but as I play harder, we get a little extra harmonics in the sound. It's because these instruments are very much multi-sampled on different octaves and notes as well as velocities. So I can play this nice and soft, or I can accent certain notes. Get that extra, layer of, it's like the higher frequencies kind of come out, much like if you were playing a real guitar. This is an obvious recreation digitally. So when you get the pack, you've got our little folder here, and it comes with the little lesson file on Ableton Live right over here, so you can read a little bit about the pack. You've got your presets folder, and you got your samples folder. There are a ton of samples in here. Lots and lots of samples for these 50 presets. It's because they are multi-layered, multi-velocity level on many cases, so there's a lot going on there with the samples to give you a realistic sound, and then you've got your 50 presets here. So I'm just taking you through bass marimba sound. We'll go on. Bright Day. And this sound and many of these, all of these sounds have a filter for low-pass filtering. We got a resonance that affects that filter, as well as a high-pass filter. So we can cut out some of the low end here. The resonance affects both filters. We've got an arpeggiator, which is set to off when you go all the way to the left, but as you turn it up, we start getting our arpeggiated sounds, and we can change the rate with the same knob. And we can get this all the way up to 64th notes, which is so fast it almost sounds like chords. We can raise the octaves. Start out really low. Some really cool effects that way with the arpeggiator. We've got a chorus, which gets kind of extreme or soft, a delay, and a reverb. And all of these sounds can be manipulated further by going deeper within the racks. So we've got control over some of the arpeggiators parameters. We can go to our filters, turn on our LFO frequency. So I'll go back here and lower this. And now our LFO is working on our synth. Let's close this up so you can see what's happening here too. Change the waveforms. and the phasing as well. Slow that down, you'll hear it a little better. So there's a lot of room for sculpting your sounds to be whatever you want them to be. We've also got control over the delay and the reverb, so we can change our feedback and delay times as well as our decay. And then go back in here and hear the results. And that's on all of these instruments. We've got this kind of control. Now, since this instrument and some of the instruments are more like pad and slower attack sounds, I've taken the LFO and put it on here instead of the arpeggiator because I didn't think that would really do much good on these sounds. All right. Very interesting sounds that this synth can make. Some voices. Dogs in. Very interesting sound that evolves nicely over time. Fantasia, one of the classic sounds of the D50. These chimes that fill out with this nice warm pad underneath. Beautiful sound, love it. So that's the pack, really. Tons of different sounds. Could go through them all, but there are 50, and that might take a little while. So I encourage you to check it out, have some fun, and add some 80s vibe. The digital futuristic sounds that we had in the 1980s are right here for you inside of Ableton Live and Logic Pro X. Thanks a lot for watching and enjoy.